fresh off an incredible performance at what we hope is not the last hurrah at Wild Horse Motorsports Park in Phoenix, Arizona. Let's give it up for the one, the only Justin Ashley. What's up, big dog?
What's up, guys? I made it. I made it in Pomona somehow. A little bit of a delay. You made
it, man. Is it weird? Here. Is it as weird for you as it is for us to be going to Pomona as the third stop on the tour?
It's very bizarre. It's very, very odd. Something about it just doesn't feel right. We're making it work, but it's a little weird going from Gainesville to Phoenix to Pomona. Usually we fly in here, test in Arizona first, and it's just the way we kick off the season. So definitely an adjustment, but we're getting used to it.
As a team owner, was it impactful for you to see the NHRA make a move, as odd as it may be? And it is obviously a very weird thing that we will eventually settle into, but what a racer-centric decision for the NHRA to make. And I think that's something that all of us involved in the sport have been yearning for. Like, to see the NHRA do something that is in the best interest of their racers. Keep you guys out west when you're supposed to be out west, right? Like, hey, let's bunch all these West Coast races together instead of making our team zigzag across the country. Do you agree? I mean, was it a meaningful thing for you?
I do. I completely agree. It was very meaningful. You know, it's a small change that makes a big difference. Obviously, logistically for the teams, it keeps the expenses and the costs down. It's just a little adjustment that NHRA made that can really go a long way. It's going a long way for our team. I know it's going a long way for a lot of teams out there. So we really appreciate NHRA making that change. I know that obviously we like to start off at the Winter Nationals every year in Pomona because of its history and the history that is behind racing at that racetrack, the opening race of the year every year. But this just makes more sense financially. And I definitely think it was the right decision by NHRA. And I think all the teams feel the same way.
How are you so good at leaving the starting line? What's the secret? Like, seriously, like I was kind of just getting you comfortable was the plan. Like, I'm gonna get him talking, and then I'm gonna pull out the secret sauce. Dude, you were
perfect, man.
You were 051, right? You were 039, 035, and 052 in the final. When Antron Brown said last year at the Texas Motorplex that you're the best out here right now, to be honest, I'm like, oh man, you guys must be pretty good buddies because that's bullshit, right? But I think you are. Like, I think he is the best out here right now. So what's the secret sauce? Like, are you drinking a certain type of tea on Sundays, or come on, help a brother out?
It's a very specific type of boxers that I wear every Sunday before race day really is the key. But we'll talk about that off air. No, I mean, First of all, I appreciate you coming directly out with the question. That was a good question. No dancing around, right to it. So I appreciate that. But honestly, I wish that there was a secret. If there was a secret, I promise I would not be hiding it. I'd be telling you what it is right now. I think it's just a matter of, obviously it's a combination of things, right? First and foremost, you have to have a good car that reacts well off the starting line. So that's the first thing. So it really is a team effort. But secondly, I think just trying to do the same thing every time, not overthinking it, but going in with the same approach, staging the car the same way every single time and not getting caught up in everything that goes on around you. I am also very analytical in terms of not only where I stage, but where my foot is, my knee bend that I have, where my foot is positioned actually on the throttle, how hard I actually hit the throttle when I decide it's time to go. So I think all those things combined add up. Usually most of the time, sometimes I'm up there, I may have made plenty of mistakes, but most of the time it's worked out well so far.
The consistency, I really think, tells the tale. I mean, Justin, you're relatively young in this journey that you're on right now, and to be contending for a world championship, to be established as perhaps the best in the business when it comes to the starting line and driving one of these cars, the quickest and fastest cars on the planet Earth, to be thrown into that conversation as one of the best there is, it says a lot about that analytical nature of yours and clearly being committed to the process. I'm curious, just a couple of things. You hear people talk a lot about being consistent staging, but we've never really talked about the burnout process in a Top Fuel or funny car. And you'll have to forgive my ignorance. I've not really been around nitro racing a lot. Like, my story's different than yours. Like, I grew up around pro stock cars and door cars, and there's a lot of the nuances of that stuff, like not dragging the clutch pedal whenever you're backing up from a burnout, not resting your foot on all these things. What is that process like for a burnout? Is that factored in? Oh shit, we lost him. This was going to be great. Oh, he's back. Is the burnout process factored in to your consistency? Do you try to do the same burnout? Do you get any instruction from your crew chief on burnout based on track conditions? Because nobody ever really talks about fuel car burnouts anymore. So can you give us a little bit of insight on that?
Yeah, that's a great point. Just like door cars, it is really important to burn out. The whole process is really important from the time they start the car to the time you back up and actually stage and leave. So, it's a lot of similarities in terms of not riding the clutch, right? You don't want to build too much heat in there, and making sure that you're going to the same distance and backing up the same way every time. Because when these crew chiefs start the car, they actually have their watch and they have everything timed. So we want to be, from the time we start the car to the time Mike Green tells me it's time to stage, I believe around 1:30 to 1:35 every time. So it shows you how critical each element really is to it. So just a matter of treating the clutch obviously the right way. Everything's got to be smooth. Everything's got to be delicate, which Antron Brown actually taught me about doing from the time I started driving at a young age. So all that stuff matters. Just doing the same thing every time, from staging to burnout to keeping the car in the groove.
Do you stomp on the loud pedal, as Clay Millican would say? When I wrote about this for a column in the magazine soon, but last night I was writing. I was, by the grace of God and Scott Palmer, as I like to say, I was given the opportunity last fall to warm up and whack the throttle of a Top Fuel dragster. And his instruction was me to whack it, like, wow, stomp on it. And I did. And I almost thought I was going to like break the pedal. I stomped on it. Is that what you do behind the wheel? And I forgive me if I'm asking for like, trade secrets, but are you violent in the car? Or, I mean, how does that process look? What does it look like?
Yeah, that's no trade secret. Yeah, it's pretty violent. And you got to think about it. First and foremost, you want to aim to stomp on that loud pedal, right? Like Clay says, because when you aim to do that, your foot's going to react quicker. So that's always the goal, is to really stomp on that loud pedal. But you have 5.5 Gs that are pulling you back in the seat. If you want to make sure that your foot stays down all the way, you better stomp on that loud pedal and make sure that you hold it down there, because your whole body is going to be pushed back. So yes, when you go to stage, when you go to leave the line, when you go down the track, you definitely want to stomp on that loud pedal and hit it violently and hit it aggressively.
It's a super fun conversation to have, because like, we're lucky we have a nuanced audience. Like, the people that watch this show aren't like just drag racing fans. They're not casual fans. They're hardcores. So it's kind of cool to be able to pull the curtain back a little bit. So take me through this past weekend. We just talked about your reaction time, and the storyline of the last 14 months, 15 months has been Top Fuel's perhaps never been more competitive as it is right now. Where we may lack in quantity, we more than make up in quality. I was looking at the numbers earlier, and it's like there was 12 cars literally that could have won the race this past weekend that I think you could have said have a shot. That's a newfound happening in our sport. This, like I said, the last 15 months, nitro racing is at an all-time high, in my opinion, in terms of competition. So getting a win under your belt, the second race of the season, we saw you kind of have a championship perhaps snatched away from you last year. So, I mean, what's your emotions like? I mean, is it like, hey, obviously you're going to celebrate any win, right? You should celebrate them all. That would be my advice to you. Please do. But I'm just curious, as someone who has championship aspirations, who has been there at the end in the thick of it, I mean, what's it like to get a win under your belt early in the season? You have to kind of temper yourself and know that there's a lot of fighting left to be done?
Yeah, it's a great question. I think it's about finding the right balance, and I think experience helps with that. You mentioned enjoying the wins, and I think that's super important. That's something that I'm a strong believer in. That's something that our entire team strongly believes in. When you win these races, they are so difficult to win. You really have to take a deep breath and enjoy it, and not just immediately go on to the next one. So that's something we did Sunday and Monday. Obviously went right back to work, but really enjoyed the moment and took it in. We want to do everything we can to carry that momentum now to Pomona and the rest of the year. But also the focus has to shift at some point. It has to shift to Phoenix. Last year, the competition was insane. I thought, okay, nitro categories, Top Fuel, it cannot get any better than it is. Turns out this year is even that much better. It's only going to continue to get better. Like you said, at least 12 cars at every event are going to have a chance to win. You almost have to have 4 perfect rounds on Sunday. Just give yourselves an opportunity. Just give yourselves a chance to win. So, we did a great job of it in Phoenix. Found that consistency on race day. We have a resilient group with Mike Green, Tommy Delago, and the entire Phillips Connect team. And, when it was time to step up, the guys stepped up and they did a great job. So with that being said, we enjoyed it, but now our focus is all moving forward into having a good weekend in Pomona.
When you look around, and I stand by what I said, I think you may well be the best lever in the class right now. But in fairness, there was only one. There was a couple like snafus, like leave before the tree was activated. I mean, those things are going to happen. We saw it in pro stock, whatever. But in fairness, there was only one 100 light in the first round of eliminations. Most of these, everybody's better. Everybody's game has been elevated. Do you sense that amongst the drivers? Is there an increased level of competition or even like the atmosphere? Because drag racing is a big family, and while dysfunctional for sure, a lot of us are very friendly with one another. I mean, you're talking about Antron Brown. I know you guys are close, and there's a lot of great friendships, but it does seem like the onus really is on the drivers, like perhaps more so than we've seen in a long time. I remember, and again, I don't mean to discredit anyone ever, but at the height of Tony Schumacher's success, I mean, he had Alan Johnson, they had the field covered. You know what I mean? Like he could almost wait till he saw green and drive around people. And again, that wasn't the case. And I've had Alan Johnson personally tell me that Tony was perhaps the best driver he'd ever worked with as far as somebody who was always there, consistent. But I'm just curious, what's the mood like in the pits? I know we're only a couple of races into the year, but I mean, it seems pretty salty right now. We've got all these call out deals and whatnot. Like by God, we're trying to get you guys to not like each other.
Well, yeah, Tony, I've heard Mike Green, our crew chief, was Tony's crew chief for a while. So, I'm a little bit familiar with the way he used to drive, and could talk about consistent. We spoke about doing the same thing every time. That dude was a machine. Did the same thing every single time. But yeah, I mean, look, iron sharpens iron. That's what it comes down to. Everyone is good and good. Everyone's improving because we have to. We're all going to make mistakes. I've made, just ask the crew chiefs, countless mistakes already. I'm only 2 races in. But thankfully, we've come together as a team, and the tide is rising, man. Everybody has to rise with it. We all know that, like you said, that separation that might have used to been there in the early 2000s, it's not there anymore. It almost looks like pro stock when guys are running between 370 and 373 all day. Keeping the car on the groove, leaving the starting line becomes that much more important. So, the driver is just part of it. Obviously an important part of it, especially now with the importance of the reaction times, but it takes a team effort, man. It takes the right crew chiefs, it takes the right team. So, things are getting spicy out there, but that's how we like it.
100%. So you made a great point, or you said something that hit me. A high tide lifts all boats, right? And how is the high tide that kind of exists in drag racing? For the first almost hour of the show today, JT and I ranted and raved about, these posts that people like to make. It would seem on social about like, well, they said drag racing is dying. No, it's not. Quit saying that shit. No one's saying that. Like, open your eyes, look around, get outside. There's no, drag racing is killing it. I mean, Street Outlaws are racing in Australia, sellout crowds, back-to-back events, back-to-back days in Phoenix. People, I mean, you can hardly move in Gainesville. You can hardly move in Phoenix. I'm curious, how's that high tide affecting your business, Justin?
Well, I mean, look, you said it. I don't understand where these thoughts are coming from, where drag racing is dead or it's not moving in the right direction. Gainesville, if I didn't cut the line, forgive me for that, I would have been online for 2 hours to get into that race. If I didn't cut the line,
it was almost scary.
Wes, I had to give away a free T-shirt to cut in front of somebody to get into Phoenix, so I was on time for race day on Sunday. Yeah. The line was back. Oh, and they held me to it. They came by to my pit to get a T-shirt. But
Not surprised.
It was unbelievable. I mean, it's great for business. It really is. It's great for business. I think something that's really important, obviously, we know is the television, and that Fox racing, especially on National Fox, is a big help. It's great for our business, and the attendance is great for our business, and it's attracting a lot of new partners. It's great for Phillips Connect. It's great for National Debt Relief. It's great for Toyota. Everyone loves it. They want to be a part of something special, something that helps them to generate business themselves, which in turn helps our program. So everything really is trending forward in the right direction.
I'm glad to hear that, because I was curious, like, how, as someone who is out chasing these sponsors and making these deals, are you getting that kind of feedback from the folks at Phillips Connect, from the folks at National Debt Relief, and the list goes on? Like, do they sense it? Can they sense what's happening? Because it really does. I truly believe that in the years to come, we will look back on these years and go, wow, we really were living in the glory days of drag racing right now, today. I mean, so are you getting that kind of feedback from your partner saying, holy crap, I didn't expect this many people to be here, or these TV numbers, record viewership, I believe, at the NHRA Gator Nationals? And again, I go back to that event. Man, if a fight or something would have broke out at that place, I don't think there were enough police within 100 miles to like calm that crowd down. That was a big crowd. So how's it help? I mean, what's the feedback you're getting from your partners?
It's been a lot of really great feedback. I mean, what's not to love, right? It's awesome. Every partner has a different objective, right? For the most part, some might want just brand awareness. Others might want TV. Some want straight direct business to business and ROI. So it's different, but everyone seems to feel the same way about it. All the partners are really happy with how the sport is moving. It's moving forward in the right direction. I think we all know that because it's proven. You could see it. It's one thing to talk about it, but when you're 2 races into the season and we're setting attendance records already, when we're setting a record for TV viewership for Gainesville, it's proven. The proof is in the pudding. So all the partners are really happy, and I would imagine that all the partners that are involved in NHRA with these other teams probably feel the same way as well. So just couldn't be happier with where the sport is right now as a whole.
So take us through last question and we'll let you go. I had a notion that I was going to ask you, and I will. I'm going to actually not let you off the hook quite so easy. But what's the plan going into Phoenix? I mean, obviously we're early in the season. Are you guys still sorting out any sort of new combinations? You hear a lot of people talk about the 6-disc clutch deal. Are you guys pretty set in your ways when it comes to how you run the car, or are you still doing any sort of discovery this early in the season?
No, we're still doing discovery. Actually, we made a lot of testing laps early in the year, more testing laps than we ever made. And, we said, all right, we're going to take the beginning of the year to get used to this new combination and make any changes that we need to, because in the long run, we believe that's going to give us the best opportunity to compete for a championship. Now, thankfully, aside from winning being the best thing on Sunday in Phoenix, it gave us 4 more laps, right, which were so important for this new combination to get more data, to get more information. So that was critical. So yeah, we're still working some things out. The good news is if you ask me, with Mike Green and Tommy DeLago, we have the best in the business to be able to dissect that and make the right calls, as you've seen. So yeah, we're still working some things out. It's still going to take some time. We're certainly not out of the woods yet, but we have a long way to go. But we're definitely starting to catch on to something.
Who's got the hot rod? If you had to pick, like, who's got like the fastest car? Right. I mean, let's be honest. Like, who do you think is it? I mean, you're clearly in the conversation, but who do you think's got like the hot rod right now?
Well, I mean, I think right now, obviously, look, you can't count anybody out. My teammate's Antron Brown, so I'm always going to say him first, regardless. It's the guy I worry about the most is Antron. But, look at the 2 races. I think the guy who stands out to me, probably there are 2, are Doug Coletta, right, with AJ over there and how fast they're running. I know they went a 364 in Gainesville and qualified number 1 last race. And then Mike Salinas. Mike Salinas is running really good as well. So I think those 2 cars have really stood out to me over the first 2 races. And they came out ready to hit it hard. 2023, they made that point very, very clear.
Agreed. I think we're seeing those Coletta cars perform as we expected them to perform last year, right? And that just speaks to the point you're making, that there's moving parts. There's a lot of things. People are figuring things out. Obviously, they had wholesale changes with a new program, bringing Alan Johnson and Brian Houston to the table. But clearly, those things are going to be hot rods this year. And I think I'm actually really glad to have seen Mike Salinas stay as competitive as he has, because, man, Rob Flynn, great guy. And it was cool to see him kind of like what was tumultuous situation, right? Like following Alan Johnson cannot be a comfortable situation to find yourself in. And he's done an incredible job with that. So last question is, if I get you a Pro Mod, will you race it at the World Series of Pro Mod 2024?
Yes. But you have to speak with my dad first. So, but this is a verbal commitment. Let's have a conversation. You, me, and my father. Let's make it happen.
Okay. Let's make that happen, man. Hey, thank you for everything, Big Dog. I appreciate it. I'm so happy for you. Your dad and I actually, people may not know this, but let me tell this story. Mike Ashley is the kind of guy that used to buy an ad in Drag Illustrated just to help me out. He would buy a full page ad in every issue just to thank his sponsors, not like just as an exercise in like great being awesome. You know what I mean? Like he would buy an ad in the magazine. That was back when we were all newsprint. The magazine, you had to wash your hands immediately after reading Drag Illustrated because you had ink all over you. It was disgusting. But
love it.
He literally would buy an ad in the magazine and just thank his sponsors So if there's any other racers that are looking to hook a brother up, feel free. Our Brett Underwood is available at any time. Dial him up right now. I can give you his number. But anyways, Justin, be safe this weekend. Thanks for the time, man. Shout out to Elon Warner, your PR guru, who I believe is the best in the game. So for organizing this, as always, we appreciate you, buddy.